Rajagopal, thank you very much for coming to Brussels to celebrate Mo's 10th anniversary. But let's talk about you, your work, and the place where you come from, India. And India is a booming economy and a regional power that is asserting itself, rightly so, on the geopolitical scene. At the same time, we see that tribal and Dalit people in India feel threatened even in their mere existence. So why would you say that these two realities who are conflicting, why do they continue to exist at the same time in one country?
So you are absolutely correct when you say that there are these two realities, booming economy, incredible India, shining India on one side, poverty and misery on the other side. And this is how India is today. And this is what people like us are trying to address. Now, this was not so miserable before globalization. With the arrival of globalization, the situation has become worse. With the arrival of globalization, there is so much demand for natural resources, land, forest, water, and minerals. And this is how people make profit, by exploiting these resources. So there are too many corporate houses coming into India. Even Indian companies are investing into mining and other activities. As a result, poor people are further marginalized. People who are Adivasis who are living in the forest are further marginalized because there are so many mining companies coming into forest areas. Dalits who used to make a living on land, even though land didn't belong to them, but they were making a living on the land of somebody else. Now the land is being sold out. So they are becoming further marginalized and forced to migrate. See, as a result, India has become very violent now. See, on one side, you must be noticing a lot of social movements emerging, non-violent social movements. But there are also violent social movements emerging in India. So it is time for us to understand this contradiction and deal with this contradiction. Now, what government of India, whichever parties may be in power, are trying is to put this reality under carpet, rather than trying to discuss about it and see that in a globalizing world this contradiction is a reality, and this reality need to be tackled with open mind. Rather than doing that, they are trying to hide it. So on one side, this is not only the problem of reality. On one side, government trying to hide it, and people like us trying to speak about it. And that is another area of confrontation that has begun now.
But you're saying that the past 20 years, the situation of the poor in India has gotten worse.
Yes.
That is in contradiction with the presentation of the reality of India, which tells us constantly that even though there are still many poor people in India, things are getting better and better, and especially since the introduction of India in the global economy. So why is it that you say that things are getting worse?
See, the Indian middle class are moving up, and there is, of course, a large middle class in India, and their situation has changed drastically in terms of their income, in terms of their lifestyle, and the cities are becoming more powerful centers of business, etc. This is one side, which is the reality. But at what cost is the question, that how is that the middle class is able to make so much money in a short span? That is because there are so many corporate houses coming in. And the corporate houses are introducing a lot of activities that are benefiting the middle class. People who are educated, people who have moved up, they are definitely benefiting. But who are the losers? The losers are the Adivasis and Dalits and nomads and fisher folks. Because the nomads who used to live by entertaining people have no possibility to entertain people anymore because they cannot catch monkey, they cannot take snake from the forest. See, Wildlife Protection Act will not allow them to do anything. The fisher folks are losing their control over water resources, and Adivasis are losing their control over forest resources, and farmers are losing their land. As a result, large number of farmers are also committing suicide. So, while there is, of course, a booming middle class, but what is the percentage of this middle class? But large number of people are left out and marginalized. So this contradiction cannot be seen if you just travel through India, because you will see cities, and urbanization has become the new process, and urbanization at the cost of destroying the villages, because every urban city is demanding too much land, too much water. So all the water sources of villages are now used for feeding the urban people with what they need. So I think this development model will only create more poverty and problems and misery for the poor people. And as a result, this contradiction is going to remain unless we are willing to revisit this with courage and determination to change that situation.
Which is what you have been trying to do through the movement Ekta Parishad, which organized with other movements this fall the Jan Satyagraha, a big march from Gwalior to Delhi, where you were planning to arrive with 100,000 landless people to demand a real land reform. The government signed an accord halfway through, so the march never really made it to Delhi. But how easy is it to bring these marginalized people on the streets marching towards the capital city of the country?
It's a very difficult task, I tell you, because marginalized people are struggling for survival. Day-to-day life is very difficult, so majority of them need to migrate to cities and slums to make a living. When people are not there, how do you organize them? So we are constantly faced with this problem of people who are facing misery and problems are constantly migrating, or they are struggling to fill their stomach. So in this process of filling stomach, finding jobs, looking after their children, it is not easy for poor people to come out and march to Delhi. So it takes years of work. See, in our case, when we say 100,000 people are going to march to Delhi, it took really 30 years of work. I began mobilizing people back in 1991, and we are organizing an action in 2007 where 25,000 people marched, another action in 2012 when 100,000 people marched. So organizing poor people is not easy. But then if you have a systematic way of doing it, training young people, sending them to villages, organizing the people for small actions at their level, giving them that understanding that through action you can change your life. So then build from a village action to district level action to state level action, then at the national level. It is not one day job. It is many years of work to really help people to do that. And also introducing this agenda that it is not only important to act, it is important to act non-violently, and that takes a lot more time. So I think it is constant work and taking pains to mobilize people, organize people, to come to a level where they can challenge a government that is so powerful.
A lot of people in Europe think that poor people like the ones you work with are easy to mobilize because they have nothing to lose.
This is not true because their level of poverty is so high that they are constantly in search of food and work, and they have to look after their family. So for a person to come out for a day may be easy, but then a person who is winning the bread for the family to come out for a month, imagine you have to travel thousands of kilometers using your own resources, then you need to walk for a month, losing your jobs and then not looking after your family. This is not easy. This will happen only when people are determined to say, look, I have problem, but my problem will not be solved by anybody else. I need to solve my problem by acting. And this level of awareness, this level of determination will come only when you work with the poorest section of the people for many years and then motivate them to act. Rather than sitting down and crying about the problems and misery, stand up to act and challenge the government who made your life so miserable. So it's a long process, and it's not easy even in India. It takes years of work.
You are considered one of the leading Gandhian activists in India today. So my question is, how relevant and how popular is Gandhi's thinking about non-violence and the village-based economy in the 21st century in an emerging world power?
See, unfortunately, the rulers of India really don't care for Gandhi. You can see Gandhi's photograph in every office. You can see Gandhi's photograph on the currency of India. It doesn't mean Indians are committed to Mahatma Gandhi and his philosophy. We have gone a long way in the wrong direction, in the opposite direction. We are basically motivated or influenced by the Western model of development. And for a country like India, where 70% people live on land, make their living on land, this is not the right model. Destroying the villages, destroying village economy, and then building urban areas and their economy is a wrong direction. But so Indians in general are not committed to Gandhi, but then still we have a group of people who think Gandhi is relevant. And interestingly, they are not necessarily Indians. Across the globe, you can find people who think Gandhi is still relevant. This model has its own limitation. This model is depending on exploiting resources and people and their energy. And an economy built on exploitation cannot be a sustainable model of economy. This is understood by many people, but across the globe. And I will not say Gandhi is any more relevant only for India. Gandhi is relevant for the entire globe, but his philosophy that it's a struggle between greed and need. As long as we promote greed, we promote consumption, we promote the market theory, then millions of people will be left behind without fulfilling their needs. So this contradiction need to be understood. So Gandhi should become relevant not only for India, but for the world at large.
But can Gandhi be relevant for the globalized cities that we have in India today?
See, Gandhi is constantly a challenge to this process. See, Gandhi's book on Hind Swaraj, if you understand Hind Swaraj, he is basically speaking about an economy based on rural India. That his idea was self-governed, self-sufficient villages uniting into a nation called India. He never thought all the cities will become so powerful and the cities will start controlling the economy and life of people at the bottom in villages. So the model itself is a top-down model, and this model has no place in Gandhi's theory. Gandhi's theory will basically recommend a bottom-up process. You have to begin from the bottom and then come to the top. So this economy is built on a top-down model, and it is not going to work within the Gandhian philosophy. So if you want to recreate Gandhi, if you want to recreate Gandhi's philosophy, you have to revisit this development model itself, which is based on a kind of an exploitative model.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for coming to Brussels.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you.